Happy Sunday night, back in the practice room. I was over at the studio the other night, and I made some progress recording another song for the new album that's in the works. I took a piece that I had actually looped a couple of years ago and had just sort of put aside, and I brought it out, and I think I'm going to use it as a tune. It's one of my, what I call spawn tunes, or spontaneous tunes. And I just brought it, I re-recorded the loops with my new equipment. And so I think it's going to work well as a sort of a spacer song on the new album. I'm going to call it Monroe Doctrine, with reference to the fact that we're here on Monroe Street. Well, Monroe Street is that way, Oxford Street is that way. The other spawn tune on this album is going to be called Oxford Karma. That's the tentative title for it. It's another loop that I had saved on my looper from a couple years ago, and I'm going to bring it into use for this album, which is a follow-up to my first solo album, Urb's Eye View, which came out on Bandcamp back in May to critical acclaim, I have to say. I got some nice feedback from people. So if you haven't heard Urb's Eye View, I invite you to go over to Bandcamp and check it out. You can, you don't have to buy it in order to listen. You can stream it live, but if you want to buy it, it costs $7, or you can pay more, but $7 will buy you a digital download. And I'm thinking about putting it out as a physical CD, but I haven't done that so far. So I don't know if I'm going to do that. But if you want a CD, I can burn one and send it to you. But there doesn't seem to be a lot of demand these days. So for the most part, it's digital downloads. But anyway, I have another. I'm working on another album, and I expect to get it published sometime next year. That's my little Phil Wilson warm-up exercise that I got from my teacher Tom Everett about 40 plus years ago. So I've been playing that one for a long, long time. It was nothing much to it, but it's one that Phil Wilson used for just loosening up the embouchure as you at the beginning of a practice session or before a gig kind of thing. How you doing? Happy Sunday night. Let me play Herb's theme for you. I usually do that on these streams, but probably some people that haven't heard it. So this is Herb's theme. Yeah, the red thing. This is a mute. It's a practice mute. It is called. It's called the shh mute, and this thing is the best practice mute I've ever seen for trombone. It's the best one I've ever tried. Usually, most practice mutes, they play really stuffy and they mess with your intonation, and they're usually kind of hard to play in the low register or in the high register, or they're not really suitable for doing daily practice. They're just maybe good enough for practicing in a hotel room before you go to a gig or something. But this one, I found it about 10 years ago, um, at which time you had to order it from New Zealand, so it took several weeks to get here. Um, but it's the best practice mute. Uh, I actually use it. The reason I use it is here in my condo, I can't really make a lot of noise. And in fact, I mean, it's in the building charter that you're not supposed to practice musical instruments you're not supposed to play musical instruments in the units at all. But as you can tell, with this mute, the sound of my horn is, it's quieter than a normal speaking voice. And so the thing enables me to practice pretty much anytime I want. And I'm able to, with this mute, I can actually do my daily practice routine uh, with the mute, and it's really kind of a lifesaver for any brass player that lives in a space where they can't make a lot of noise. So yeah, that's what that is. It's a mute. Well, thanks. Yeah, that of course was Polka Dots and Moonbeams, kind of a standard ballad from the Great American Songbook. I don't remember who the songwriter was, but you can find it. You know, it's easy to look up. It's Polka Dots and Moonbeams. I'm just gonna wipe off my slide. As I showed you guys the other day, I think I cleaned my slide in the stream, and it's something I do once a week or so typically. Um, you know, a trombone slide is kind of a fussy thing, and it you have to keep it happy, or it'll get sticky and slow, and we don't want that. So I just I clean the inner slide, which is this part, and then I clean the outer slide, which is the part that moves back and forth. And And then I put a little bit of this cream on the inner slide and sort of work it around a little bit. But then I have to wipe it off, because what you want to do is get a little bit of the slide cream onto the outer slide and then remove it from the inner slide. I don't know why it's necessary to do that, but the best slide technician in the business told me to do that, and he's right, it works. So what I just did there was I wiped off anything that was left on the inner slide and sprayed some water on it. It's working pretty good. So anyway, I'm going to do a little exercise that you guys have probably heard me do from time to time, because I do it every day. It's a sort of a multi-purpose exercise. How you doing? Sort of a multi-purpose exercise that works a bunch of different things. It works scales and tonguing and articulation and intervals and tone quality and note attacks and stuff all in one thing. So if you don't have a lot of practice time, it's nice to have exercises that work multiple things at a time. And this one happens to be based on a string bass line from the scherzo in Bruckner's Eighth Symphony. Bruckner is probably my favorite orchestral composer, and so I like to play a little bit of his notes every day. I don't know if he knows about that. This year, Bruckner celebrated his 200th birthday. He was born in 1824 in Ansfelden, Austria, and he died in 1896 in Vienna. And I think he would be kind of amused to know that in 2024, a trombone player is using a line that he wrote as a practice exercise. I don't know if he'd like it or not, but I think he'd probably be very pleased with how far the technique of trombone playing has advanced since his day. In the 19th century, there weren't a lot of good trombone players, even in big musical centers like Vienna. So Bruckner would be delighted probably to be able to hear some of the players that are playing his music now. Anyway, I'm going to do this little exercise, and then I'll probably wrap it up, because that's about all I had for today. But I think you might find this a little interesting. I should stop and explain that when I stop to take a breath in the middle of that exercise, the reason I do that is just that I need to take a breath, and that it's not really an exercise related to breathing. It's a bunch of other things that I'm working on. So I am perfectly capable of playing that exercise without taking a breath, but it's kind of it's kind of takes a lot of doing, and I have to kind of grab a quick breath in between two notes, and it's a little bit it takes away from the focus of what the exercise is supposed to be about. So instead, I just stop for a beat, take a breath, and then keep going. All right, well, that's about all I have for today. But thanks for tuning in, and I will catch up with you guys again later in the week. Happy Sunday.